Kat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are talking about the second movie in our holiday event, which is Babes in Toyland, which is an adventure family fantasy film from 1986. This has a 5.4 on 2,707 votes, which is officially the lowest amount of votes for any movie we've done.
Oh gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
So, the spoiler-free synopsis: a girl awakens in a magical world and joins a toy master and storybook figures against an evildoer.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the movie for you. So this is directed by Clive Donner, who's also directed A Christmas Carol, one of the versions, Oliver Twist, and The Scarlet Pimpernel. And this stars a young Drew Barrymore, a young Keanu Reeves, Richard Mulligan, and what was the other one? I was going to mention Jill Scholing.
Yeah.
And another mention is, I always forget how to say his last name. Pat Morita.
Yeah.
He is a toy master.
Yeah, he is the,
he's also
from the Karate Kid.
Yeah, I was like, the Karate Kid. That's how you know him. That's how I recognize him.
And then, Googie Gress, is that how you say his name?
I think so.
He's a pretty big part of this movie too.
Yeah, he's Georgie Porgy.
Yeah, he's great.
He is. I actually really liked him in this.
So, seeing as how this is a very unknown movie, as I'll put it, the only thing we have to go on ratings wise is IMDb. So, 16% of users, so not even users, 16% of the voters for this movie rated it at a 5, but 15.5% rated it at a 10. So.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So, like, it went from a 5 to a 10.
No, like, it breaks it down by how many people voted it at 10, 9, 8, 7,
That's
6,
what I was looking at. So, the next percentage is the 10. So, it's either people liked it or they didn't like it.
So, yeah, that's all the ratings. And seeing as how this was a TV movie, it really didn't make any money. I don't have any budget information for it, like no money information at all. Awards, it was nominated for an award. Drew Barrymore was nominated for a Young Artist Award, Best Young Female Superstar in Television. She was 11 years old when this movie came out.
Like, this isn't her first movie either.
No, but it's very early in her career.
Yeah, it is.
But that's pretty much like all the information on this movie. There's not a lot. I mean, other than this is the third time this movie has been made. There are two others. There was one in 1934, I believe. One in 1961. Then this one. And then after this one, there's an animated one from 1997. But that's really the only information that we've got.
Oh.
Yeah. So, initial thoughts.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So it's my first time watching this. I'll admit I didn't know much about it. Kat was like, I think you'll like it. You know, it's like, you know, it's cheesy. That's what you told me. And then you said, it's very similar to Wizard of Oz. And I'm like, well, I love Wizard of Oz. It's my favorite movie. So I kind of went into it like that. Like, okay, Wizard of Oz. Went into it. And I'm like, this is really like Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. Except it's just, Christmas time,
Yeah.
pretty much. I really liked it. It did. I will admit it's cheesy, but in a good way, cheesy. I really liked it. I will say the villain's my favorite part.
Yeah, he's
I love the villain. Richard Mulligan did a really good job with his character. His character was Barnacle. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my god, you remind me of the Wicked Witch so much. This is great. It's really like, it's like Wizard of Oz. It is. Yeah, and I really liked it. I did. I was like, it reminded me of, like, with Keanu Reeves in this time, it reminded me of him, like, around the age of, like, Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
That's sort of, like, he looked just, like, straight from, like, doing, like, Bill and Ted.
He did Bill and Ted, like, 4 or 5 years after this, so.
Exactly. And I recognized Jill right away because I've seen her in The Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay.
So I recognized her immediately. And I knew Richard Mulligan, the bad guy. I actually recognized him from a TV show.
Oh, really?
The Golden Girls, actually. He's a
okay.
recurring character on The Golden Girls. He's a doctor in that one. And I was like, oh, I know you. This is weird for you being a bad guy, because in the TV show you're really nice. So it was nice to see, like, compare it to what I've known him in and seen him in this. So it was really nice. Yeah, I liked it overall. I really did. I would say some of the CGI is a little off.
Yeah. Pretty aged CGI.
Some of the costumes, especially in Toyland, I will say, I was like, wait, what? But I did love, like, the bad guy, like, especially, like, one of the creatures. Loved it. I did. I was like, that is some cool effects. I was like, really good practical effects. I was like, that is cool. I like that. Especially this is a TV movie. Yeah. TV movies usually don't have big budgets.
No.
And I think it was pretty well with that. So,
and I think, especially this one being the third time this movie's been made, and seeing as how I'm pretty sure the other two were, like, theatrical releases, whereas this one's a TV movie, it definitely didn't have a very big budget.
No. Yeah, overall, I actually really liked it. It did. I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked it.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't remember the first time I watched this. I know I was really young, and I think I just happened to stumble across it. Like, I think I was just watching TV one day, and it came on, and I was just, like, so intrigued. And I think having now seen it so many times, and also seen it in this type of mindset where, like, I'm kind of analyzing it a little bit, I figured out really why I was so intrigued by it, because when I was little, Wizard of Oz was one of my favorite movies. It's still one of my favorite movies. And the fact that it is so much like Wizard of Oz, I think that's part of the reason that I was so entranced by it when I was little. Because I just enjoyed it, and I've watched it pretty much every December since I figured out what it was. I do remember there was one December that it was, like, right when Netflix started, and we had just started getting Netflix, so this one that's, like, they mailed you the DVDs. Netflix.
That's showing our age there a little bit, Kat.
Yeah, showing our age a little bit there. I was so disappointed because I thought I selected it and I picked this one and I thought this was the one it was going to be, and then it gets here and it was the 1960s one, and I put it in and I watched like 2 seconds of it and I was pissed. And I turned it off.
You're like,
and
what
I
is
never
this
watched
shit?
it. And I don't think I watched it that year, and then it was a few years again since I was able to find it, and then I was able to watch it again. But now I watch it pretty much every year because it's on Amazon Prime. So I do enjoy this a lot. It is pretty cheesy, but it's got that TV movie, that 80s TV movie cheesiness to it, which is funny. So I think that makes it even better. But I enjoy this movie a lot. It's a lot of fun. Like Jess said, there are some special effects that are really great, but then there's also some special effects and costumes that are not that great. But I think it's just like product of the time type thing.
I would think so.
So that was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then stop listening and come back after you've watched it. And if you are looking for it, it is on Amazon. We also only watched the 1.5-hour version, not the 2-hour version.
Yes. Like, that's important to know.
Yes, so we will be talking about the 1.5-hour version, not the 2-hour one. So, starts off with, I really like the opening credits for this, like the hand-drawn, almost like
it
watercolor.
reminds me of like almost like chalk drawing.
Yeah. It kind of like cross between chalk drawing and like watercolors is kind of what it looked like.
Yeah.
And I really like the art style of this credits, the opening credits. But after the opening credits, it starts off with a snowstorm. It's a big, huge snowstorm. And we hear the news and stuff, and then there's a little Drew Barrymore sitting on the couch reading a cookbook. Which I just thought was so funny.
I'm like, you're like, how old are you reading that? It's like, okay.
And she, her, as like, Drew Barrymore is 11, but also her character is 11 as well in the movie.
Yeah.
But so, her mom calls and she's stuck in like Midvale or something. Some town. She's got some shopping left to do. And she's getting chains put on her tires because the snow's pretty bad. So they've got to be prepared for that. And I don't know why she wasn't prepared for it before. Because as we learn, they're in Ohio.
Cincinnati.
So, yes. But her older sister, Mary, is heading out.
Which is Jill's character.
Yes. So she's heading out to work. And she's telling Lisa, which is Drew Barrymore's character, telling Lisa what she got her for Christmas. And I'm like, why are you telling her? It's a surprise. Like, don't tell her.
She was too excited.
Yeah.
She wanted to tell her little sister.
I can understand that because I get way too excited for Christmas presents. I'm just like, you can open it now. I guess like 2 days after I get it and wrap it, you can open it now. Like, I want you to open it right now.
I was like, I'm pretty good at not doing that. But some days I'm like, just open it.
But she tells her, and Lisa's not really thrilled. Like, you can see it in her face. And I'm just like, already seeing this movie, because, you know, Drew Barrymore has done some stuff prior to this. But it's crazy. She's 11 years old, and she's already got these acting chops. Like, you can see the change in her face, because she's, like, so excited, saying goodbye to her sister, like, so excited about what the possibility of her Christmas present is, and then her face just instantly changes. I'm just like, holy crap, that's like, that for real happened.
It's like, yeah, she's like, oh, great, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's like, you're such a liar.
Yeah.
But okay, good.
Gotta give Drew Barrymore some props there, because she's got some good acting chops at 11 years old.
Yeah, that's true. Then this is like when the TV and the phone go out after her sister leaves.
Yep. She's watching the news and making, like, cookies or something, I guess, and the TV turns off because the antenna falls over because of the storm, and then she tries to call somebody, and the phones have gone out because the storm blew over the line. So she decides to head out in the storm, and my guess is that she doesn't live very far from the toy store that her sister works at, because why else would she head out in the middle of this snowstorm?
Yeah. Or because she's an 11-year-old and can do whatever she wants.
That's true.
I'm like, dealing with 11-year-olds, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that much that they would just go do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. That is true. But so then we're at the toy store, and we see Jack, which is Keanu Reeves. A very young Keanu Reeves.
And he's talking with Mary and everything.
Yeah.
They seem to be pretty close.
Yeah, he's asking her on a date.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat 3 pizzas. That line cracks me up every time. Just because I'm just like, you know, if you really tried and they were all thin crust and cut into squares, you could probably do it, because those are so easy to eat. Because you know, the pizzas are so small, you don't realize how much pizza you're eating.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That inner fat kid in you came out strong.
Yeah. Then Lisa shows up and she's like trying to get Mary to come home. And Jack's like, well, I'll just take you both home.
In his Jeep.
Yep. Which is funny because when you see it, it's not a Jeep. Like, it's some other type of car.
I know.
I thought that was funny.
So she's trying to get her to come, but like her boss shows up, and so she's like hides her underneath like the desk that she's sitting at, and her boss is like this huge creep. They're like a creeper, and he's like trying to like, you're completely inappropriate. I was like, it literally threw me off when I saw this. I was like, that's not how I know how he acts. This is weird. I'm like, again, I'm used to this actor being like super nice, super gentle, and everything. You weren't expecting him
to be the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be the bad guy. It threw me off. I was like, oh my god, this is very uncomfortable for me. It was.
That's funny. That's funny.
And he's like, trying to like, why aren't you pushing like the teddy bears and everything? You need to be nicer to me and all of that. I'm like, you're a creep.
Yeah.
Major creepo. And Lisa's hearing everything. And so she pops out underneath the table and she just goes off on him.
Yeah. But yeah, Lisa's like yelling at Barnaby or Barnabas or whatever his name is at this point. He's just like completely shocked that she was sitting under the desk.
It's like, where did this child come from?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mary gets the courage and just tells him off, too.
Yeah. Like, tells him to stop being a creep and all that, and she quits, and she's gonna take this sled as the payment that he owes her for working.
And Lisa goes on she gets, like, grabs the microphone and goes over the intercom. It's like, you people need to go home. There's a snowstorm coming.
Yeah. And so they start heading out, and then George and Jack both come with them as well. And they drop a bunch of bouncy balls, like the big ones.
Yeah.
On Barney. And I thought that was funny. And then so they're driving home, and then we get the Cincinnati song. I was like, this is such a creative song.
I was just giggling at the song. I was like, this is quite cheesy. I will say this song is very cheesy. And like the way they were like, just like Keanu Reeves is driving. And I'm like, this is very unsafe driving.
Yeah.
It's like all rickety, like all like jumpy around. I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah. But then a tree falls down in the road and he has to like kind of swerve. And so Lisa falls out of the back on her sled.
I was like, that was very convenient that she fell on her sled.
Yeah, I think she was like sitting on her sled and it just like flew out of the back. And she runs into a tree.
And I'm like, that is very bad.
Yeah.
That honestly made me a flashback to Hereditary. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a major flashback for me.
This isn't the horror movie.
I know. That movie's cursed me, Kat. I'm blaming you.
That's okay. I'll accept it. That movie's so good.
Ugh.
But so she flies into Toyland on her sled.
And it's like all bright and happy and sunshiny.
Yeah.
It's like completely opposite for where she was. I'm like, okay, now this is the Wizard of Oz we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, this is where you start really getting the Wizard of Oz feel.
And all the residents, they don't go hide like in the Wizard of Oz. They're just like are all out and stuff.
Yeah, these are some weird. This is where I thought, I was like, these are really weird. It's like teddy bears and like different animals walking around, like full-size people size.
Yeah.
And then my brain immediately went to furries. I know that's a bad place to go, but that's what I thought of.
Well, it's funny because it's just like I'm pretty sure they just went to the mascot supply store.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of too. Mascots. And I'm like,
that's what it all looked like.
And I'm like, not gonna lie, it was super creepy, that part. Like, just a bunch of like animals just walking around like full size people size. I'm like, this is
But
weird.
There's some people walking around, too.
There's people, but they're dressed up weird, too. You learn why they're dressed like that in a while, but, like, when you first watch, you're like, what the hell is this place?
Oh, we forgot to mention earlier, this snowstorm is occurring on Christmas Eve in Cincinnati.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, they do say it. It's because that's when Lisa's like on the thing and she's like,
oh yeah, they did. Never mind.
Saying she's like, Christmas Eve, you need to go home, be with your family because the snowstorm's coming, blah blah blah. But that's literally how this is a Christmas movie, and the end. But
that's
other than that, there's not really much Christmas movie to it.
Yeah, I was like, they mentioned Christmas Eve, and then you said, I'm like, oh yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they did. Quickly, but it did.
Yeah, and then at the end they got the Christmas tree up, so it's really the only reason this is a Christmas movie. But so she's flying in, and all the residents are like super confused. They're like, "What in the world is that?"
And she lands on this huge cake.
Yep, and we find out that it was a wedding cake for Barnaby and Mary Contrary.
Yes, I think it's Mary Contrary Hubbard.
Yep.
Yes, Mary Contrary Hubbard. I just looked.
Everybody's like heading somewhere and stuff, and so Lisa, she just follows along, like she doesn't even care. She's in this weird place, and she just landed in a cake, but she's just gonna follow everybody anyways.
And she meets Georgie Porgy.
Yep.
Who gives her a cookie. I'm like, well, that's an awesome way to introduce yourself.
I'd be pretty happy.
I would be very happy. I'm like, you know what? You're my friend now. You gave me food. Especially a cookie.
But so Georgie tells her that everybody's heading to a wedding and that Barnaby is going to marry Mary.
And why she's going along with this, why Mary's going along with this, is because that Barnaby bought the mortgage on Mary and her mom's house.
Uh-huh.
And now they can't pay it.
Yeah. And so he threatened them that she had to marry Barnaby or he would sell the house out from under them.
And Mary's just going along with it, to save her family. But she's really, really in love with Jack.
And Barnaby is Jack's uncle. And one big thing that I just think is hilarious that Georgie says is that sometimes when Barnaby is angry, he likes to roll his bowling ball, which is his house. He likes to roll his bowling ball house down the street and run people over. I'm just like, that is like the funniest thing any villain has ever done.
I love it. It's like, you're pissing me off. I'm going to roll my house on you.
Yeah.
And it's like a bowling ball as a house. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
But so the wedding is taking place and it gets started and stuff, and the justice guy is sitting there doing the vows and all that, and then Lisa's just like, excuse me, no. Like, she just got here and she's already being a menace pretty much.
Exactly. Speaking her little mind.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we already saw her doing that in the store, so it's expected, but it's just funny. But, so, Barnaby gets mad, and he goes off and up to his bowling ball. And then she asks why, or no, he hasn't. Oh, yeah, he went up to his bowling ball.
Yeah, he storms off, and people are, like, cheering for Lisa. There's this entire song, too, about it.
Yeah.
And I wrote, I'm like, this is very Wizard of Oz-like right here, too.
Yeah.
And, like, this reminds me of the Munchkins just singing to Dorothy.
Yeah. And then we see Barnaby and his two little minions watching from the bowling ball. They're just sticking their heads out of one of the little holes where your fingers go. His little minion guys are Zach and Mac, which I think is really funny.
Because they rhyme?
No, I don't know. I just think they're... Because normally, like, evil minion names have more thought put into it, but these are just like super simple names. They're just Zack and Mac. Like,
I'm like, well, yeah, they are pretty simple.
oh god, what's it? And the Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah.
Flotsam and Jetsam. Like, that's got a lot of thought put behind it, and then, you know, that type of thing. Usually the two little henchmen of the bad guy, there's quite a bit of thought put into their names, and it makes a lot of sense for where they are and stuff. But this one is just Zack and Mac.
I was like Hercules.
Yeah.
Like Pain and Panic.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of thought put into it, but this one is just, like, so simple, and it's just funny. I don't know why.
It's like, alright.
Like, I feel like it just represents how stupid they are.
I think so.
Because if they get to pick their names when they become the little evil henchmen, this just represents how stupid they are in picking their names, because they're just going to keep their normal names, because I feel like that's probably what their names were before they were henchmen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so yeah, they're watching from the evil lair and stuff. And I love it because, so, Barnaby's like, well, who are you? When Lisa interrupts and everything. And she's like, well, I'm Lisa Piper from Cincinnati. And so, literally the rest of the movie, he calls her Cincy Watsky. And I just think it's so funny.
He's like, yep, that's her name. He doesn't care what her real name is. She's just from Cincinnati, so.
Yep. And he has no idea what that is, so Cincy Watsky it is.
And you learn that Barnaby owns the cookie factory.
Yep.
But it used to be Jack's dad's. And then Jack's dad died, and Jack was supposed to get it, but Barnaby had this law passed where Jack could not get the factory until he was 21 and married.
Yeah. Which is happening on Wednesday. According to them.
Yes.
According to Georgie.
I was like, it's happening on next Wednesday. I'm like, oh, so someone's birthday's soon. Okay.
Yeah. Then it jumps to Barnaby and Zack and Mac, and they're breaking... Well, they're not really breaking in. They're going into the cookie factory. And they're in there, and you can already tell they've got an evil plot going on. And so they go into the back, and they start throwing cookies into this big, huge trapdoor hole in the ground.
And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're destroying food?
And there was one part I thought was funny. I don't know which one's which for Zack and Mac, but one of them, there's a cake on a table. He picks the cake up, puts it in the box, closes the box, and then throws the box into the hole. I'm just like, why in the world did you just not throw the cake in the box? Or throw the cake in the hole? Why did you have to put it in the box? Especially because the next thing they do is one of them starts throwing little cakes up into the air, and the other one hits it with a baseball bat.
Presentation?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I'm guessing. And I like how the factory workers are all in roller skates.
Yeah. And all it takes for them to go away is to have a cookie break.
Yep.
Like, I would go away to have a cookie break.
Me too, especially if it's like milk and cookies. And their cookies like fresh out of the oven. But that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
We get to... So, it shows that... you get to see... Lisa gets to meet some more nursery rhyme characters, actually.
Yep.
So, you meet, like, Mother Hubbard, which is Mary's mom, and... what was that? There's some other ones, like Little Boy Blue.
Yeah.
Like Jack and Jill. Like, just these nursery characters are. And they're, like, they act like, what was it? Jack was, like, on crutches or something.
Yeah. And a lot of them are just, it makes it out like they're Mary's little siblings.
Yeah.
And, so...
And they live in a shoe, too.
Yep. Because the old woman that lived in the shoe had too many kids, so she bought a pair of boots, and then they moved into the shoe.
That made me laugh. I was like, oh yeah. Well, then stop having so many children.
Yeah. I thought that was really funny. Then we see Mrs. Hubbard's big long list, which I didn't really ever catch it before, but that's also something that the Mrs. Piper character, which is Lisa's mom in like the real world, that she does as well.
Yeah, she had a list on her.
Which you really see at the end. That's why I never really caught it before. Because you know me, as soon as I've seen a movie like 1 or 2 times, it immediately becomes a fall asleep movie. So I usually get about 20 minutes in and I fall asleep.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's very rare that I see the end of movies. So I actually caught it this time. That's kind of like a hint at her other character. I mean, yeah, of course it's the same actress, but it's just like a hint at her other character. But Lisa's suggesting to Mrs. Hubbard that she marry Barnaby. She's like, oh, well, that's not a bad idea at all.
It's like better than my other idea of just selling the kids off.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Which cracks me up. I loved that part. It was so funny.
I'm like, okay. Well.
Like, I even have one of my favorite lines written down from that part.
Good. And this part, I was like, oh, I'm like, really? Really? We're using these? Okay. So they use pedal cars.
I love these cars.
They're like different colors. There's like purple, there's blue, there's pink. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. So we're using pedal cars. All right. I mean, that works.
And it's funny because Mary's like, oh, the only requirement for a license in Toyland is being able to reach the pedals.
That's it. And she's like, can you reach it? Yeah, kind of. She's like, perfect. And she gives her a cookie that says, Toyland driver's license.
Yeah.
Which
is hilarious.
I'm like, okay.
And then we also learned that it's always daylight in Toyland.
Yes.
So Mary and Lisa go to the cookie factory.
Yes, and Georgie lets them in because he works in the factory.
Yep, he is like the head baker or whatever, something like that. To me, it really just seems like all he does is eat cookies.
He loves cookies.
Yes, which is not a problem. It's perfectly acceptable.
I mean, it could be a problem if there's too many cookies.
That's true.
I mean, that's how diabetes kind of forms.
Yeah.
Well, type 2 at least.
Yeah. But anyways,
sorry.
Jack is there too. No, you're good. And Barnaby is also there, and Barnaby has accused Jack of stealing a month's worth of product. And he's like, oh, you're lying. And the police bears show up. I love the police bears. They're so moronic. They just like run around like, huh? And if you listen closely, sometimes you can hear them actually making noises like that.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. But so the police bears and Justice Grimm show up.
That's his last name?
Yeah.
Like the Grimm fairy tales?
Yep.
Oh gosh.
Justice Grimm.
I did not catch that.
Because they only say his last name once.
Okay, so that's probably why I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Grim.
But so they go look in like the back storage room and see that all the product's gone. And so they arrest Jack and take him over to the police station. But Jack's like saying it's a lie and everything. And so the charges that what he's being charged with is grand cookie larceny. Yeah, this movie is so cheesy, but it's so funny.
It's like you gotta pay attention because of the I didn't notice the grand part or the grand cookie larceny.
Yeah. Well, and the way the lines are delivered once you start to catch them, it's just makes it even cheesier, which makes it even funnier. So I feel like the more you watch this movie, the funnier it gets. Because you start to catch more of the lines. Because, you know, the first time you're just, like, so overwhelmed because of what this is that you don't catch everything. But then the more you watch it, the more you catch, and you're just like, what? Like, some of the stuff they say, I'm just like, you're kidding, right? Like, you didn't just say that.
You said that with a straight face, too.
They do.
That's the best part. Straight
like,
face.
This entire movie, there's only literally one part that I could see the actors cracking up a little bit. Like, trying not to laugh. But for the most part, they deliver these lines super well. Like, they're invested in it.
Oh, very invested. Goodness. So they go, so Mary, Lisa, and Georgie go to the jail.
Yeah.
And they are going to get Jack out.
Yeah.
And Georgie gets the keys while Lisa's telling the Justice Grim about Pete Rose.
Yeah. And he's so fascinated.
He's like, wow, really? I'm like, oh. I guess to someone who doesn't know anything about baseball or Pete Rose would be very fascinated about it.
Yeah. She's distracting him, and then he notices that the key is gone, because she said, oh, can I go say goodbye to Jack? And he's like, of course. So he goes and, like, looks, and the key is gone. So then they go run back to the cells, and then she locks him in a cell. And she's like, sorry. I don't remember what she says there, but I remember it was funny. It's one of those lines that just is delivered super, super quick.
I can't remember it either.
It's something that he had just said, but I don't remember what it is. Anyways, so all the kids are going to go. I'm just going to call them kids because they're younger than Barnaby. So they're going to go to the Toy Master because they need to ask the Toy Master for help.
Yes.
And this is where we meet the Toy Master, which is the Pat Morita. I think his name. I think it's how you say it.
I guess. I loved these, like, toys and these creations in the shop. It was very well done.
Yeah. I also think it's really cool because, like, the first time they go in there, it's got kind of, like, this old feel to it. Like, it's been sitting for a while. Like, the toys have been sitting and, you know, stuff like that. But then later on when we go back and see, like, a couple more scenes when we see the Toy Master again in his workshop, it's starting to look newer and stuff. And I think that is kind of, I don't know if they did it on purpose or if it was an accident, but I think if they did it on purpose, it's kind of playing on what Lisa's supposed to be learning throughout the movie. You know, like the moral of the story, not to grow up too fast type thing.
Yeah.
But so the Toy Master makes the toys for Santa Claus. So that's another hint that this is a Christmas movie. But so they meet the Toy Master and everything, and we get to see the toy soldiers, and they are telling him about Barnaby and how Barnaby has framed Jack for taking all the cookies.
Yeah. And he shows them, he's like, I'm going to tell you a secret. And he pulls out this tiny little key, which opens up this closet, has a bottle in it.
Yeah.
And it's the evil of the world.
Yep, all the evil of the world.
I'm like, okay, first off, why do you have that?
He's collecting it.
And second of all, why are you collecting it? And third of all, do you realize there's a bad guy in your town that could use that against you?
Yeah. But that's the point. Like, if he wasn't collecting it and it wasn't there for the bad guy to get, then we don't have the rest of this movie.
I know it's a plot device, but
you
still.
always tell me this.
I know. But I'm gonna question it, damn it.
That's fine. But all the while he's showing them this, like, magic evil jar thing, Barnaby is watching through the magic eye of this, like, one-eyed bird thing, And what this really reminded me of is that song from when I was really little, the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look anything like it, really. It just reminds me of it.
I like that song.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. It's just super catchy. But he's watching, and he's like, ooh, we're going to steal that. And then we see Georgie's eating a cookie, and they're like, hey, where'd you get the cookie from? He's like, oh, I found it on the floor of the factory. I think it might be evidence. And they're like, you're eating the evidence.
It's like, quit eating.
Yeah. So they decide to go back to the factory to look for more evidence. And then we see Mac and Zach, they're up there with the little lever for the trap door.
They're waiting.
They're trying to get Jack to fall into it. But he's like walking on it and walking off it, you know, that it's a trope that's in like every trapdoor movie.
Every.
But he's like walking on, walking off, all that crap. And then he finally falls in and it shoots him down into the evil lair of Barnaby. And then we get the evil song. Because we have to have an evil song.
You have to have a villain song. I feel like that's a requirement.
And actually, this is a really good one.
Yeah.
I think.
Is it the monster piece?
Yeah.
I was like, nice play on words. Very nice.
Yeah. I did like this song a lot.
Yeah, I like villain songs, so I was very pleased there's a villain song.
Yeah.
He's like, and during the song, he's saying that he's going to take over Toyland and everything and the world.
Yeah.
And there'll be no more toys and all that. And he's like, I'm going to get Mary next.
Yeah. So he goes down to the shoe.
With flowers.
Yeah. And Lisa's out there. And so she's talking to him, but he can't really do anything. Like, in the wide open with everybody standing around watching. So she takes the flowers and says that she'll talk to Mary or whatever for him. And that he just needs to go. And so then Ms. Hubbard comes out and is talking to Lisa, and she's like, oh, these are from you. They're from Barnaby. And she's like all flattered and everything. She's like, oh, okay.
And she's like, ooh, you know, these are pretty. Yeah. It's like, oh, Lord.
This is super, super funny.
And Georgie's been looking for Jack, and he can't find him.
Yeah.
And Lisa's like, you know, we haven't looked everywhere. And she's like, why don't we go look at the bowling ball?
Yep, so they head up to the bowling ball. And Mary's like, okay, well, I'll just go first. So she goes up there, and she, like, sticks her head out one of the little finger holes. And she's like, there's nobody in here. Like, there's nothing in here. And then she gets captured. And thrown in the little jail.
I saw that coming.
Bowling ball. Yeah.
I was like, really? One of the things you don't do is go by yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just seen a bunch of horror films. You just know, don't go by yourself.
First rule of a horror film.
That and don't trip.
Yeah. So Lisa and Georgie decide to go back to the Toy Master again to ask for his help. But now is when Barnaby decides that he's going to break in and steal the evil jar.
Which he does. He ties up Lisa and the Toy Master and Georgie, and he takes the key from the Toy Master and opens a cabinet and takes the bottle.
Yep. And then he leaves the little bird, one-eyed bird thing, to torture them. And so he's like pecking at them and all of that. And Lisa has the bright idea to use his beak to cut the ropes to get him undone. And then she gets undone first, and then she goes unties Georgie. She goes unties Toy Master. And then the Toy Master has the bright idea to paint the bird's eye so it can't see.
Paints it black. And they get the creature to get into this big trunk.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed this time watching it was that if you look at the trunk, it looks like there is a way for the actor that's in that suit to walk straight through it, because you could see like a curtain or something in the what was supposed to be the bottom, because it moved a little bit when they were moving the trunk. And I just noticed it this time. I was like, oh, that's how they got it to where he wasn't actually locked in the trunk.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. I'm going to have to watch it again.
Yeah, I just barely caught it this time. And I've seen this movie a ton. But I wasn't even really looking for it either. I was just kind of watching, and then I noticed something. And I was like, hey. So it's like a kind of a false back to it. Because, they're not actually going to trap somebody in the trunk for the movie. But they put him in there, and then they sit on top of it after they've put it down. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But the toy master's telling him, he's like, you guys have to go get that evil jar back. Like, you got to get it back. And they're like, well, why can't you do it? He's like, because you're young.
He's like, and I'm old.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got to fall to the young people now. I'm like, well.
I thought that was funny because I basically used that today. The kids weren't listening to me. And I was like, you have to listen to me. They're like, why? I was like, because I'm an adult and you're a kid. And I said so.
Exactly.
They're like, oh. But I just thought that was funny.
So Georgie and Lisa head out to... They go through the gate that blocks the Toyland from, like, the forest. And they go through, and they fall through a trapdoor.
Yeah.
And
did you see that one coming?
Yeah. I'm like, everyone's got to get together at some point through a trapdoor.
Yeah. But, yeah, they fall into the prison that Mary and Jack are in as well. And then Barnaby kind of... This is the thing with evil people. They always reveal their plans.
It's true. They can't keep quiet about their evil plans. They like to brag or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But so he's like, I'm going to give the evil to my trolls. Blah, blah, blah. Like his big monsters that were in the woods.
He's like, and I'm going to make you into them too.
Yeah. And he said that since Lisa disposed of his one-eyed bird thing, that she was going to be his new one-eyed bird thing. I was like, how do you control what they turn into?
That's what I was confused about too. I was like,
yeah,
Mike, are you that magical? Because it doesn't seem like it.
But so he like opens the thing and releases all this stuff, and they start coughing and sneezing, and there's like this green gunk everywhere.
And Lisa's like, it's not affecting me at all.
Yeah. The other three are starting to change, and it's like starting to affect them. But Lisa's just standing there like, yeah, whatever.
And then because she's thinking about like happy times and like in Cincinnati, and so she makes them start singing a song, the Cincinnati song. And I'm like, okay, how would they know this song?
That's what I wondered too.
I'm like, how would they know it?
That's what I was wondering.
But then she gets them all to sing it. I'm like, okay, sure. But
it works. They all fend it off and stuff. But then the troll army is coming. And so they have to act like monsters to trick Barnaby into letting him out of the cage.
Yep.
And this part is so cheesy where they're pretending to be monsters.
Yeah, that was pretty cheesy. I was like, really?
I was just like, oh my god. But, so he lets them out because he thinks they're now his evil, like, they're turning into his evil monsters. And so they, are escaping and stuff. And, of course, Barnaby's mad, and it's like this big, huge chase scene, and the big flask breaks. And then the kids end up getting out through the cookie factory. And they, once again, head to the toy master. You would think after the first 2 times of him not really helping at all, they would stop going to the toy master.
Nah, they don't learn.
No. But, so Barnaby's still after them, and then we get a car chase. Get some Fast and Furious action.
I literally
here.
wrote toy car chase, LOL.
And it's so cheesy.
Yeah, it was very, like, okay. I was like, oh gosh, like, how can you make this serious? You're riding around in toy cars. And
But, like, the thing is, like, the more you watch it, the funnier it becomes.
I was like, this is cheesy. Again, it's funny at the same time. So I guess it worked out.
I think that's just the thing with TV movies. It's just, they're so purposefully cheesy that it just works.
I guess. I don't watch much TV movies, so.
I did when I was little just because they were on. And then they end up being just so good. Like, even though they're not great and they've got some problems to them like this one does. But they're just still so good. Like, underappreciated, really, I think is what it is.
Some of them.
Yes, some of them are just terrible. But so, then we get the, like, car crash and, where Mac or Zach, whichever one, I don't know which one's which, crashes into Barnaby's car. And then the other one runs over this little tree, and then the one that's out of his car is, like, running, but the tree hits him in the face.
That reminded me of the Three Stooges, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That was a Three Stooges moment.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then, so those three get back in the, like, they're all back in their cars, and they're driving around trying to find the kids again, and then they have a big crash. And then the monsters are trying to get out of the factory. So Zach and Mac are having issues with the door, but they are able to get it open eventually.
They're like, wait a minute, we're trying too hard. Let's work together here.
Yeah. But then the kids are talking to the toy master, and the toy master's like, well, the toys, I don't have anything in here that can help you. The toys can't help you because there's still someone here in Toyland that doesn't believe in the magic of toys.
And I feel like he's like giving her like
Intense
a look,
wink,
like,
wink, like,
Lisa, really?
like, hey, I'm talking about you. And she kind of realizes it, and she starts saying how she understands that she's grown up too fast, stuff like that. We also get Toy Master's song here.
Yes.
And some of it was okay, but then there's other parts of it where I felt like he was having some issues.
Well, he's not a singer.
I know.
That might be part of it.
There was just a couple of words and phrases in there where it was like it's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not terrible. I've heard terrible singing before, and it's not terrible. There's just a couple of times when he's having some issues. But then she's talking about, like, how she remembers her toy, like her little teddy from when she was little, and she believes in the power of the toys and stuff. And then we jump back to outside, where the monsters are approaching the town and the townspeople. And so they're building up a barricade to keep the monsters out. And then they go get fruit to throw at them. Did you notice that? They go line up to get fruit.
I did not. I was just, again, too distracted by the adult-sized animals.
Yeah. It's like, it's super quick. It's like 3 of them. There's one of them, she leans down and picks up the fruit and starts handing it to the other ones.
I was distracted by the creatures, and I was distracted by this big goose running around.
The big, huge goose.
And I'm like, it's kind of like the same thing as Big Bird, but Big Bird's a lot more friendly, not as creepy. It's like, Big Bird doesn't scare me. That does.
But they get through they get fruit to start throwing at the monsters and stuff. And I'm like, what is this fruit gonna do?
I don't know.
And it's funny, because Zach and Mac they somehow manage to get fruit, and one of them, he's like got it in his hand, and he's like getting ready to throw it, but he squeezes it, and it like bursts on the side of his face. But the monsters are making their way through the barricade right as the toy soldiers come out to start driving them off. Like, shooting at them with their little guns and stuff.
And the cannons, too.
Yeah, they had cannons. And so the toy soldiers are driving off the monsters, and Zach and Mac are hiding behind, like, this little railing on a porch somewhere. And Georgie sees them, and he goes and gets them and, like, throws them over the porch rail. But Barnaby manages to sneak up on Lisa. But Jack stops him, and they fight for a minute or two. And then Toymaster banishes Barnaby for life.
I'm like, you haven't done that before?
Yeah,
I'm like,
why are you doing that?
I'm like, really? The guy dresses like, he's like an evil guy who rolls his bowling ball house down the street if you make him mad. Why has he not been banished before? But I'm thinking logically.
Yeah. But then they're all, like, celebrating and stuff. The monsters get Zach and Mac and Barnaby.
They drag him out.
Yeah.
And you see that Mary and Jack get married.
Yep. And I did notice that the two little boys, you know, they're singing, the whole little choir is singing the song, but the two little boys up front are lip singing so bad.
It's like, at least fake it. Come on.
Like, they're 2 words behind everyone else.
Oh, God.
I did notice that. I was like, oh my goodness, come on. Then they're saying their goodbyes and stuff because Lisa's got to go home. And then Mrs. Hubbard and Justice Grimm are flirting, which I thought was kind of funny.
She invites him over for dinner. I'm like, all right.
And Lisa's saying goodbye to everybody and goodbye to Toyland. And then she's like, but wait, where's the Toymaster? And he's the one that's dressed up in, like, the Santa suit on the sleigh with the wooden reindeer.
He's like, I'm taking you back.
Yeah. So they're heading home. And this is some pretty bad CGI.
Yeah, it is.
Then they get home. Or then it is home time. And Lisa, we see her, she's asleep on the couch.
Very Wizard of Oz-esque.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lisa, her mom, puts Teddy Bear with Lisa. And she wakes up. She's, like, telling all about her dream and the lessons she learned. And she sees the tree. And she's just so excited to be home and that everybody's there and all that.
And she sees a toy soldier.
Oh, yeah, the little toy soldier under the tree. And then he salutes.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
So, the music. Originally, like, this movie is actually based on an operetta by Victor Herbert. He was born in 1859, passed away in 1924. The first movie he ever worked on was The Fall of a Nation. His first ever operetta was Prince Ananias. And then Babes in Toyland, he wrote that one, the original operetta, in 1903. And a couple other movies he worked on was Duck Soup in 1933. A Room with a View in 1985. They just used his music in that movie. Babes in Toyland, of course, because he wrote the operetta. They used his music in not only this one, but the other remakes as well. And then Race in 2016. They used some of his music in that. But this movie specifically, the person who really brought all the music together and made it more specific to this movie is Leslie Bricusse. She's known for Dr. Dolittle, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. She worked on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And Scrooge as well. Those are... And not all of them were for music. She's also a writer. She writes scripts as well. Which I believe she's one of the writers for this movie. Because she did work on the lyrics and stuff for this movie.
I was like, I recognize her because of pure imagination. That's why.
Yeah. She has won 2 Oscars. One of them, 1983, Best Music Original Score, and its adaptation or Best Adaptation Score for Victor Victoria.
Nice. And
then she also won an Oscar for Best Music Original Song, the 1967 Dr. Dolittle, the Talk to Animals one.
It's like, that one starred Rex Harrison, right?
I think so.
Because he's the original Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, Rex Harrison one.
Yeah. And it's like, he was also did Broadway, and that was the year before he did My Fair Lady.
Okay.
The movie.
Gotcha.
It was like, and Victor and Victoria is a musical.
Yeah.
Like, has Julie Andrews in it.
Yeah. But she is the one that kind of took Victor Herbert's operetta and made it work for this adaptation of Babes in Toyland. Like we said earlier, there are technically 4 other versions of this movie, because there's the 1930s one, the 1960s one, the 2-hour version of this one, and then the 1997 animated version. Did not have a chance to watch any of them.
Same.
Go right on into trivia.
I'm fine with that. So, like, that technically is trivia, because before we watched it, I was like, Kat, which version? She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, which version? The 2-hour one or the hour and a half one? Because there's a difference. And most people just now watch the German version.
Yeah, because when it came out, originally there was the one that played on TV in America the day it came out, and then there was the one that was released in Germany. But then they're like, you know what? Just go with the German version.
Yeah, it's shorter.
Which, I mean, if for it being a kids' movie, shorter is better, because kids don't have that big of an attention span.
They do not.
So
it's like, we both know this. They do not have a very long attention span.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to watch this with, like, a kindergartner or a preschooler. They're not going to last long.
No.
Even with all this cheesy silliness of this movie. Speaking of Germany, this was filmed in Germany.
Yep.
In Munich. And what else? I did mention about, earlier we were talking about Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Saying, like, trying not to grow up too early. And she was really 11 in this movie. And the part of it that's kind of real life thing is that she was already getting into bad things.
Yeah.
At the age of 11.
She was already hanging out at clubs, drinking a lot, which led to drugs later on.
It's like, she's clean now.
Yeah.
But being a child actor and being a child star kind of does some crazy things to you.
Yeah, as we have seen a lot with Disney Channel stars.
Oh, yeah. It was like, another good example would be, of course, Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
That's another good example. I got 2 things. They both involve Keanu Reeves, actually.
Okay.
Keanu and Jill were actually dating during this movie.
Yep.
As you can tell. They're pretty lovey-dovey with each other.
Yeah.
And this one also, while they're filming in Germany, this is where Keanu Reeves learned to ride a motorcycle.
Yep.
And he is huge into motorcycles, even has his own company now. Like, there's not much, really, for this movie.
So, favorite line. I've got quite a few.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got 5. True love will always ring true.
Okay.
But that's the way the cookie factory crumbles.
Yeah, I do like that one.
The struggle between good and evil goes on inside of everyone. It might not be everyone's taste, but we call it home. And this is probably my favorite one. To an evil person, I'm very well organized, don't you think?
Those are some good ones.
Thanks.
I just told King Kong what he could do with his jungle. Well, he doesn't deserve a wedding cake anyway. Cincy Watsky. That's like my favorite thing. He doesn't even care. He just calls her that the whole movie. But then I noticed at the end, the last time he says it, he doesn't say Cincy Watsky. He messed up the line.
It's fine.
I don't remember what he said, but it was something else. It was Cincy Watsby or something like that. Like, it was just a little slip, but I thought it was funny. Why don't you keep your business out of other people's noses?
I like that one. I forgot to write it down, though.
When she's talking about selling the children and then Mary gives her a look, she's like, well, not all of them, just a couple of the little ones. Don't you have the power to turn him into a wind-up pussycat or something? Because I am old and you are young. We talked about that one. During the car chase, get the little one, I want her. He yells that like 3 or 4 times. Get the little one, get the little one. Believe in Toyland and all that it stands for. And then, this one I thought was funny. By virtue of the almost unlimited power vested in me by the Toy Master.
Well, this is your movie, so you get to pick.
Think either believe in Toyland and all that it stands for, or Cincy Watsky. Like, those are... Cincy Watsky, every time he says it, it makes me crack up. But then I feel like the believe in Toyland one just kind of encompasses this movie, so...
I feel like you should go with your gut.
We'll go with the believe in Toyland, I think.
All right.
So, believe in Toyland and all that it stands for. So, what is your rating?
So, I told you my rating earlier. I'm changing it.
Okay.
I've decided to change it. I'm bumping it up.
Oh, really?
I am. I told Kat earlier, I was like, okay, I was like thinking for like a 6 or something. And then I just told him, like, I might change it after we talk about it. And I am. So I'm giving it a 7.
Okay.
I am. Again, it's super cheesy.
Yeah.
But it's very Wizard of Oz-like. And I love Wizard of Oz. So that helps bump it up a bit. I do like the songs for the most part. I do. Some good acting. Like I said earlier, some of the special effects are not great. But some, and the costumes are kind of creepy to me. Especially, like the adult size, animals. Still creepy to me. But I did like the trolls.
Yeah.
They didn't look like trolls. They looked like these weird creatures, like, made of, like, branches and sticks and, like, moss and, like, forest. And I was like, that is a really cool design. I would never expect that from, like, a troll. So I really like that part. And I gotta give props to the villain. Villains make or break a movie, and he made it.
Yeah, he's a great villain.
So a 7.
Okay. I'm giving this an 8. For a lot of the same reasons you said. But I think just for me, the nostalgia really bumps it up just from the fact that I watched this a lot when I was a kid. A lot of things you said, like the music, I really liked the music in this. And even though it is a musical, it doesn't affect me at all. Like, I feel like it's perfectly placed where the songs are. Whereas sometimes in musicals, I feel like they just kind of throw songs in just because.
I was waiting for that.
But this one is just like, I feel like maybe the longer version I might not like as much because that one has more songs in it, and it might be one of those that they just like start throwing songs in just because. But yeah, I do like the trolls a lot. I think it's a great costume design. I did notice a couple of times you could see their hands of the actors. Yeah.
And like, especially with like the toys, the wooden soldiers, you can see that there was masks.
Yeah. I wish they had done like a full helmet type thing, but I can understand why they didn't. But I do like the costumes. I can understand where you're coming from, that it's a little creepy.
It's creepy! I'm like, that might give me nightmares. I'm not going to lie to you.
But I guess I'm just good at picking the movies that give you nightmares.
Seriously, this is the second one now. Stop.
But yeah, I like this movie a lot. It's just one of those that to me, it's a classic, and I feel like more people should see it. I mean, under 3,000 people have voted on it. That's really, really low, in my opinion, considering the highest number of votes that we've had on any movie is 955,000 to this not even 3,000. I'm like, come on, people. But that's really just me. And I understand it's a TV movie, so it makes it a little bit harder. But
it's got some big stars in it.
It does.
I feel like it should get more exposure. Especially like with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I mean, enough said there.
But this is definitely one of those, it is cheesy, so you just have to be prepared for that. And I feel like if you go into it realizing it's gonna be cheesy, that kind of helps.
It did.
Because then you're like set up for it rather than going in and not knowing anything at all about the movie. So, but yeah, I love this movie. It's great. So our next film is number 100. It is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I think that's a wonderful film to be number 100.
Yeah. It's a great one.
I was like, since it's my movie, I picked.
I love this movie. So, we will see you tomorrow with A Nightmare Before Christmas. Bye.
Bye.